did you have issues with the Stu Hart 50th anniversary show? Because I believe at the time, I can't remember what year it was. It probably was mid-90s, but they were going to have WCW and WWF wrestlers on that card. You were booked to wrestle Chris Benoit that night. I don't think you ended up wrestling Chris because of inter-promotional tensions. Is that how you remember it?
Yes. Where was that, in Edmonton or
Must have been Calgary, surely.
Calgary? Yes. Oh my gosh. It's funny because some of the things stand out so far. As I do recall, it had something to do, at least what I was told as I remember, something about, they didn't want, because this is, at the time where they WWF didn't want their guys in the ring, WCW, Paul was fine with it because, of course, exposure for us. But there was something about that, but there was something more to that story too. I'm at the incident. If, by the way, see the shadow come over, it's because Danny the Dinosaur just came into the room. The Stu Hart Classic, when I was supposed to work with Benoit, and it didn't come off. Was that because interpromotional, or what was the reason for that?
I don't want to say for sure. I think it wasn't.
Yeah, he seems to remember the same. But as with all things, these things usually go back. And if you would, like on this kind of stuff, like just send it to Moose beforehand, because I want to be able to tell your listeners and viewers, what I know about it. And usually, when something like that comes up, if cobwebs are back there somewhere, there's always more to those stories.
Yeah. Well, do you remember why Chris Benoit? I mean, I think he did some tryout matches for the WWF in 1995, along with quite a few other people like Rhino and stuff around this time. Do you remember why Chris wasn't picked?
Size.
Simply that.
Yeah, size. Vince was, I just read this yesterday, a thing on my one of my feeds about Taz, and they had a few things wrong. They said that the Kurt Angle cross incident happened in Pittsburgh. It didn't happen in Philadelphia. And with Taz, they said that Hunter came in and worked with him and then got him shoved right down the list. As I recall, Taz had a pretty damn good cage match with Kurt Angle and then disappeared. And I remember calling him at that time and saying, like, man, after a great match like that, why are you commenting? I thought he got hurt or something. There's none. I said, Vince just came up to me and told me, I just don't buy your gimmick because of size, right? And I said, that's funny because for 2 years plus, 3 of us, Bam Bam Bigelow, Chris Candido, the franchise, did this from Taz. And I can honestly say exactly 0 times did anybody say, come on, he's only 5'9" or whatever, right? The people got off on it every time. But Vince, as we all know, it's funny now because the business has sort of just gone that way, right? At 253 pounds, I was a small guy in wrestling. I mean, small guy. You got Kevin Nash, 6'10", 6'11", Undertaker, 6'10", 6'11", and you got these monsters walking around that you literally feel no matter how big, how pumped, how much muscle you packed on, you were still a little guy in wrestling. On the street, you're a monster, and you walk into this world and suddenly you're shrink up, right? And let's face it, Benoit was obviously shorter, probably around 5'10", 5'9", like in that range. But boy, could he go in the ring, right? I mean, I'm not telling fans anything they don't know. He was the guy, much like Brad Armstrong earlier in my career. To me, when I would watch Brad Armstrong, I used to think, if wrestling were real, that's what it would look like. If pro wrestling was real, that's what it would look like. Chris, the same thing later. An Irish whip wasn't just, I grab James by his wrist and just give a little tug and you zip on over there and come on back. It looked like he was pulling a tow truck. Veins bulge out, the squat down on both hands, the push by. How kids out there watching wonder how to do an Irish whip properly, watch Chris Benoit. I can learn too. He was a phenomenal in-ring performer because he had to make up for the things, much like earlier with Brian Pillman, always being the smaller guy, then excelling into the NFL and everything because he'd gotten told that so many times. He thought, I'm going to show you guys. And Benoit, the same thing. Chris knew that he had to be twice as good as everybody just to get a look. And man, the way that progressed into the ring was stunning.